is reaching out, but I don't think nearly enough is being done. Alabama, although it has come a long way in 3 or 4 very short years as far as legislation on human trafficking, still does not require training for our teachers. Last year, yes, isn't that surprising? In the last legislative session, go ahead.
I was going to say that was kind of unusual. I mean, look like they. You go ahead. I just find it a little bit, a little bit unsettling that there isn't something in this system where teachers and administrators can be, just like you go to in-service training for other things. That should be a part of it. Looking for
yes,
signs
sir.
of.
I agree. And it's not necessarily Monroe County's problem.
It's everybody.
I believe, yes, and all of Alabama. Now, the state of Florida just passed in their past legislative session a law that requires not only that the teachers be taught, but that the teachers help train their students as to what to look for, which I think is of primary importance. Last year in the Alabama legislative session, there were a couple of really good bills passed. One requires, which I think this was a genius idea, one requires all vocational students who are learning to drive trucks to be trained in human trafficking, because there is a lot of trafficking that goes on in truck stops and in parking lots. They see a lot, and they may not know exactly what they're looking at. So they've been trained in that. Also, our medical workers, people in the medical industry, have been required to be trained. And a lot of them, I think, have already gone through the training, which is, again, their first line. If somebody comes into, say, an urgent care with a specific set of injuries, then the doctor or nurse can be alerted, hey, this could be a trafficking situation.
So far as the system, I know nurses have been readily looking for signs of abuse. That could be right. Just another eye look for signs of human trafficking for nurses.
Yes.
What do you have coming up that I could be a part of, so far as the radio station here? I know we work with the patient kids and stuff like that, but what can we do here locally to bring more awareness to it? Like programs like this, but what's another step we could be taking? Like local radio media, like WMFC, Jim DeWitt has an excellent media program. What could we be doing here?
I think both of those are really good ideas. I'm hoping that as Camille Place breaks ground and starts to grow, that we will be able to have some more public faces in the media, in the newspaper, on the radio. And I would love to see churches get involved. Churches are some of our best networking people, I think. And if we could reach out to the churches and through the churches, I think that would help get a lot of the word out too. Our founder of Camille Place, Chris Ziebach, and another of our wonderful volunteers, Amanda Luker, go and speak on a regular basis. They have been to civic organizations. They have been to churches. Since I retired out of the school system, I like to do a lot with our school system, but we are readily available to speak and to try to get the word out. People hear about human trafficking, and they think it's so far away from us, Mr. Howard, and it is not. It is not. We have had stories come to us that are not in the papers, but they come from law enforcement, so we know that they are valid. There was an instance, actually this one was in the paper, an instance in Atmore a couple of years ago, where a grandmother was trafficking her 13-year-old granddaughter to a man she lived with. To me, I can't grasp that. I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
A lot of it does happen in the home, though, and a lot of it happens in apartment complexes. People, our traffickers use our interstate system to move girls from state to state. And, you know, where we are, I-65 comes right through nearby, and Highway 84 runs the other way, east and west, and you can get on either one of those and go anywhere you want in a heartbeat. And, of course, in Mobile, I-10 stretches from coast to coast. It is very difficult to find people once they hit one of these interstates. You know as well as I do, they go through so many police jurisdictions that it's crazy. It's hard to connect all of that. But anyway, I'm sorry, back to the point is that I think we in Monroe County, being a rural area, don't realize how close this evil is to us.
Okay, Ms. Howard, I thank you. When we talked last week, this is my first time really looking at it and digging into that. But I will continue to do this series on the radio program here. I did some recording today from YouTube to air tonight. It's about 50 minutes or so of people talking about it and the same things that we're saying here. I'm thankful for you coming on, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk about this, but I'm willing to help in whatever way that I can with this radio station and my position with PACES and working with them with young folks. And I do appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir. And again, I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Let's recapture some important points of what to look for. And I got some numbers in front of me, so far as texting and the number of contacts and things like that. If you are involved in human trafficking, the number is 1-888-373-7888. Once again, 1-888-373-7888. That's 1-888-373-7888. And you can text 233-733 if you suspect or know that somebody is involved in human trafficking. And from your perspective, give them your point of view of some things that they look for as we close it out.
Look for things that just don't seem right. It goes back to with our terrorism. If you see something, say something.
Say something.
Absolutely. And people locally, if they don't want to call a 1-800 number, if they see something, call your local DHR. Call the police. If it's an emergency, dial 911. Do not try to rescue victims on your own. Unfortunately, victims do not matter to the traffickers, and they would just as soon shoot the victim and shoot you as anything. They would rather do that than get caught. So call authorities. Don't try to intervene on your own.
Oh, wow. Okay. Ms. Cassandra Dunn Howard, local retired teacher here. Camille House will be up and running, and I do understand the premise of keeping it hidden as to where its location, because not only can the people that need it find it, but the people that want to find somebody that's being protected there as well.
Yes, sir.
Again, thank you. And I have queued up 50, I believe it's 50 minutes of it's called Human Trafficking. And it runs 50 minutes in 18 seconds. I'm going to play it in its entirety. And then after that, we'll probably have another 10 or 20 minutes left over after we get through that. Again, thank you to all of our listeners. It's Ms. Cassandra Dunn Howard, local retired teacher, part of Camille House that will be up and running soon with how many beds? 14 or 15 beds?
16.
16 beds for
yes,
people
sir.
that will need some place to stay in and to be put in protective area. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
All right. You've been listening to Ms. Cassandra Dunn Howard, a retired teacher here in Monroe County, a part of the awareness program for human trafficking. And we hope that you will get in touch with her to make sure that if you know anything, want to communicate with her, she'll help you to understand what it's all about to avoid human trafficking. All right. Well, coming your way here on House Healing Gospel Blog Talk Radio, coming to you from 231 6th Avenue, down south here in the big city of Beatrice, Alabama. Our subject tonight is human trafficking. Well, coming your way.
Hello. So once upon a time, about 11,000 years ago, during the Neolithic Revolution, agriculture was invented, which meant that suddenly these guys turned into these guys, which meant that we ended up with these guys. Because where you have an increased population density and a robust economy, as you do with farming, then you have people who do the work and you have people who manage people who do the work. So yeah, I'm here today to talk about slavery and about the choice that we have, you and me, to perpetuate it or to stop it. So Neolithic Revolution, hunters-gatherers, farmers, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 11,000 years to today. We don't really talk about slavery anymore. We're much more sophisticated than that. We talk about human trafficking. Human trafficking. Human and trafficking. Innocuous, right? Two perfectly ordinary words. Put them together, they form an innocuous phrase used to describe a horrific reality. Human trafficking. It conjures up images of people riding in trains from city to city, or people sipping their mocha frappe latte while they sit with 10,000 of their closest friends on the I-5, bumper to bumper, or the I-95. Human trafficking. Now toss in the word sex. Well, now you've got something to sell papers with, or talks like this one. Human sex trafficking. We also call it the commercial sexual exploitation of children. That's a mouthful. We give it acronyms like CSEC or DMST, I suppose to hide its hideousness. Human sex trafficking. We like to talk about numbers. $45 million spent per year in the U.S. for online sex trafficking alone. 21 million people enslaved globally. 300,000, that's the number of U.S. children at risk